The road to the NBA Finals ends here, with star guards setting the tone. The Cavs eye another upset, while the Knicks carry the dreams of all of New York. The Eastern Conference Finals continue on ESPN and ABC.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
And welcome, everybody, on this gloomy Sunday morning here at the Jersey Shore and probably in many other places around here. 50 and raining. Yeah. We are officially living in, I don't know, Vancouver in March. Not good, but enough of my complaints about the weather. By the way, we're broadcasting from the Breakers Hotel in Spring Lake, New Jersey. My son has a soccer tournament down here all weekend in this slop, but all part of being a parent, and we are making the best of it. Anyway, as you probably have heard by now, the gunman who opened fire on the White House near a White House checkpoint is now dead. Secret Service took him out. The person's name is Nazari Best, 21 years old, of the state of Maryland. About 6 p.m. local time, the suspect allegedly approached a Secret Service checkpoint near 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest, removed a weapon from his bag, and began firing at posted officers. That's according to a Secret Service spokesperson. This person, Best, has had a history of mental health issues, fired about 3 shots towards the executive mansion before he was taken down by Secret Service. And the White House was placed on a shutdown, lockdown. And President Trump obviously not heard. He was there at the time. On a lot of weekends, he's normally not there. But because of the Iran situation, or maybe he was going to go to New Jersey and play golf and realize that, no need to really leave because there's not going to be any golf this weekend in Bedminster, decided to stay. And again, probably more for the reason that he wanted to be near the Situation Room and obviously monitor as closely as possible what could be happening with Iran. And we'll get to that in a moment as far as progress there, probably, in ending this conflict in terms of the main goal, which is to open the Strait of Hormuz. Trump says that they seem to have a deal in principle. Let's see what the final writing looks like, and let's see if Iran follows through, which obviously they've shown to this point they cannot be trusted. Meanwhile, just to get back to that White House shooting, a lot of video around this, obviously, because a lot of reporters there were on the scene at the time. Here is Selena Wang, ABC News White House correspondent, her video during the White House shooting. And when you watch this, there's definitely a lot of fear there, because once you're at the White House Correspondents' Dinner and you think that's the safest place in the world, and then you hear gunshots and a gunman trying to take out the president there, and then you hear gunshots being fired at the White House, you're going to take cover, and you're going to do so in a hurry. Cut number 23, go.
That President Trump has said a deal is close, only for the two sides to remain far apart. No.
So you hear all the gunfire, and her and every other reporter, they have tents set up on the driveway, North Lawn. So it's right outside, basically, the James Brady briefing room, which is attached to, if you're looking at the White House from the street to the right. And Wang just had to take cover. Basically nothing. It's just a tent with a camera, and the tent is there to keep the camera dry. Or if it's raining or snowing out, then that reporter can do that hit without getting too wet. But these things aren't, fortified in any way, shape, or form. So you see her take cover, but there's really nowhere to take cover except to get down. Meanwhile, look, this rhetoric coming from Democrats, when you have, again, this is like a new normal kind of thing where, there's another attempt on the president's life. And then we move on like 5 hours later, and then Democrats get right back to saying the things that they are. This is creating, obviously, a permission slip for violence and assassination culture that just says, okay, well, you're going to take out the president. Oh, well, I guess that's part of the job, at least when Trump is in office anyway. I mean, you can only imagine if other presidents with a D next to their name, if these things were happening, it would be a national crisis, and it should be. Right. This is something that, again, eventually someone may be successful if you try something enough, especially with these high powered rifles and guns. I mean, somebody's going to get hurt, and a bystander was shot yesterday. It looks like that person will be okay, but still, again, this cannot be considered the new normal, and Democrats need to be held to account, not just by radio shows like this, not just by Fox News, but all, if there's any left, real journalists out there, get in Hakeem Jeffries' face and say, you have been saying things like this, and this may be leading people to believe that they need to turn to violence in order to change the political calculus in this country. Here's cut number 25 as an example. Hakeem Jeffries, go.
We are in an era of maximum warfare. Everywhere,
maximum warfare,
all the time.
Maximum warfare. And then when he was asked about that by at least one reporter, he says, I don't apologize for anything. And this was after the White House Correspondents' Dinner when he said, I'm not going to apologize for anything. When somebody said, shouldn't you tone down the rhetoric as a leader of the Democratic Party? He says, nope, I don't apologize for anything. So that's where we are at this point.
When you think of garbage,
let's
think
do
of
one more,
Hakeem.
shall we? Because thank you. Yes. Elias, you read my mind, my producer. But let's play one more, shall we? Hakeem Jeffries saying just this week that I don't know what this means exactly, but it sounds pretty ominous. Cut number 24, go.
I guess part of how we as House Democrats view this moment, either MAGA extremists are going to break the country or we're going to break them. And our goal is to break them.
Break them.
We will defeat them. We have to beat them electorally, and then we have to break their spirit because of the extremism that's being unleashed on the American people. That's completely and totally unacceptable.
When you think of garbage, think of Hakeem.
Oh, my. Thank you. And it's true. It's garbage. That's dangerous, reckless garbage. Break them? Who are you? Ivan Drago? Break their spirits? I mean, you could say, yes, we have to win at the ballot box in November so we can bring real change to this country. Fine. Cliche all day. Break them and break their spirits sounds like a call to violence. But Hakeem Jeffries is going to keep doing this because power is the only goal here. And I guess he thinks if he sounds tough, then maybe that'll bring enough male voters in. Meanwhile, Quinnipiac with a poll out this week showing that only 16% of men overall support the Democratic Party. 16%. Think about that number for a second. And then you look at approval numbers, and Hakeem Jeffries is at 25%. And hopefully dropping like a stone, because this stuff can't continue. I mean, Pelosi was profoundly horrible and cheated the system completely as far as her stock trades, but she never spoke like this. She tore up a speech once, fine. But to this extent, no, not even close. And if we want to hear from other Democrats and the things that they've been saying during Trump's second term, well, here's cut number 26. Go.
National map.
Every day, Donald Trump is making this nation look more and more like a fascist state.
The president wants these confrontations so that he can call out the military in other cities in America as part of his would-be dictator playbook.
Never before in my life have I called for mass protests, for mobilization, for disruption. But I am now. These Republicans cannot know a moment of peace.
These Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. Think about that. It sounds like Maxine Waters when she once said, you got to get up into their faces if you see a Republican in a restaurant or public place. And you got to shout them down. You got to tell them that we're not going to take this anymore. Hakeem Jeffries saying we have to take the fight to the streets. 90% of people understand that that's probably just, talking tough and the type of rhetoric, I guess, that Democrats need to win elections with. But 10% will probably say, all right, that means I just got to start taking people out, whether it's President Trump, whether it was Steve Scalise who was shot at a baseball practice in Northern Virginia, whether it's Charlie Kirk who was assassinated. This stuff's only going to get worse, and it's only going to continue. And because we have a media that roots for Democrats to win, they're not going to hold these people accountable the way they would if any Republican came close to saying something like this. Meanwhile, let's get to, I guess, on a somewhat lighter note, but not really, this whole controversy with Jackson Dart, starting quarterback, New York Giants, was a first-round draft pick out of Ole Miss last year, played a pretty good rookie season, didn't really have the record to show for it, didn't really have a lot of players around him to work with. But Dart certainly showing that he is the future of the Giants in a way that we haven't seen since Eli Manning, and that hopefully can be the same result, maybe a couple of Super Bowls. But Jackson Dart introduced Trump at a rally in Suffern, New York for Bruce Blakeman, who's running for governor. And okay, fine. Let's hear that. Cut number 6, go. Oh, no, sorry. That is cut number 11. Cut number 11, go.
What an honor. What a privilege it is to be here. And without further ado, I'm grateful. I'm honored. I'm pleasured to introduce the 45th and 47th President of the United States of America, President Donald J. Trump. And I'm proud to be an American.
And there you go. So Trump comes out and has a lot of praise for Dart, which, again, is it such a surprise that, a Southern kid, 22 years old from Mississippi, may support President Trump? This isn't exactly groundbreaking stuff here. Here's Trump on Jackson Dart's legs. Yes, Trump notices these things. Once owned a professional football team called the New Jersey Generals at one point. Anyway, here's Trump. Let's go with cut number 18, go.
I'm looking at Jackson. I'd like to know, is there any woman in the audience that thinks they can tackle that guy? Because I'd like to meet you. I'd like to shake your hand. I don't know. Jackson, you think you could play against women okay? Do you think you'd have any problem? I don't think so. But don't get involved, Jackson. Don't get involved, Jackson. Don't answer that question. No, I'm looking at the legs. He's this beautiful guy. He's got legs like tree trunks. This is not a good thing for women. This would not be good. No, it's no good.
He does have very large legs. I mean, they all do, right? These guys can squat, hundreds of pounds. Odd for a quarterback to have those kind of legs. Eli Manning or my friend Phil Simms, didn't have. He had a great arm and a good brain, That was good enough, and obviously these guys were in shape back then. Phil also winning 2 Super Bowls, MVP of one of them, got injured in the second Super Bowl season, but led them to, I think it was like a 10-1 record to that point. But the reactions that we have seen have been utterly unhinged. John Harwood, who once moderated a presidential debate for CNBC. Now he's unemployed. He was with CNN, and he was even crazy enough for them to get fired. He said Jackson Dart was speaking up for an immoral sociopath criminal who was severely damaging America. And then goes on to say that Steve Kerr was, and that's the coach of the Golden State Warriors, a completely pro-Democrat to the point where he spoke at the DNC. That was different with him because he was just speaking up for democracy. Yes. And then you have Abdul Carter, who's a teammate of Jackson Dart, who was like on Twitter saying, I thought this was AI. What's up with this? How could you do this? Abdul Carter, if you're listening, little memo for you. Your new head coach, John Harbaugh, voted for Trump. And your idol, Lawrence Taylor. I was at a rally in Wildwood, New Jersey. They sat me next to, well, everybody stood most of the time, was Otis Anderson, another MVP, Super Bowl, and Lawrence Taylor. And Lawrence is a profound supporter of President Trump to the point where he spoke at that rally on behalf of that support. So, for people to start questioning this, like one of his teammates on Twitter, dude, here's what you do. You pick up a phone, right, and call your quarterback and say, hey, what's going on? And Dart would just say, hey, I support Trump. I'm one of the 77.8 million people who voted for him. If Jackson Dart got up there at a Kamala Harris rally and introduced her, I have a feeling that almost no one would have a problem with that on the left. No one would, as a matter of fact. In fact, they would say that great for Jackson Dart. I'm a new fan of his. He's saving democracy. It's just too funny. There's even this one lawyer guy that I responded to on Twitter. His name is Mitch Jackson. He's a trial lawyer. And here's what he said. Hey, Jackson Dart and Giants, you just lost a fan. Actually, it's probably more like hundreds of thousands or millions of fans after they see this pathetic and disgusting endorsement of a convicted felon and sex predator who is destroying America. All right. So, again, this is how it works. That guy says he's never going to be a fan of the Giants again because Jackson Dart says he supports President Trump. Well, I guess that means that unless the entire 53-man roster of the New York Giants supports Kamala Harris or whoever the Democratic nominee is in 2020, then I guess every fan will have to divorce themselves from the Giants after many, many years of rooting for them because somebody supports, in this case, the winning candidate, a winner of 2 presidential elections, as if that is some sort of crime. And I don't know. People have lost their minds. What more can we say? Anyway, we're still sane here for now on the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show, back from the Jersey Shore and the Breakers Hotel in Spring Lake in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show.
Picture this. Me, Reese Witherspoon, in London, ordering fish and chips so often they might start wrapping me in paper. I'm traveling with my Wells Fargo Autograph Journey card, so I earn rewards wherever I book travel. 5 times points with hotels, 4 times with airlines, 3 times on restaurants and other travel, and 1 point on other purchases. Imagine getting rewarded for eating a toad in the hole. Wait, what is a toad in a hole?
Visit wellsfargo.com/autograph journey. Terms apply.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Whether it's a movie night or just midday, Skinny Pop is a salty snack that keeps on giving. Made with just 3 simple ingredients for an irresistibly delicious taste and a large serving size that lasts. Deliciously popped, perfectly salted. Skinny Pop, popular for a reason. Shop Skinny Pop now.
If data management is slowing down your business, you need the Intuit ERP. If one entity is here, and one here, and one here, and one here, you need the Intuit ERP. If scaling your business feels like starting over, you need the Intuit ERP. Intuit Enterprise Suite is the AI-native ERP solution that consolidates, migrates, and automates, all in one place. Learn more at intuit.com/ERP.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
And welcome back, everybody. So, Alex Jones and Taylor Greene, formerly big supporter of President Trump until he talked her out of running for a Senate seat she absolutely would have lost in the state of Georgia. Well, they got together. Yeah, Alex Jones and MTG. Those are 2 very, very sober and intelligent people having a conversation. And here is part of that train wreck. Cut number 4, go.
I think it's right there. Absolutely. He's like, I remember the clip. He goes, wait. I just got a big idea. I can get into war. Well, he just said yesterday, he said, I may be here in 2028. I may just stay. I may be the Israeli prime minister. What about that?
Oh.
Well, that's so that type of behavior is someone planning an idea over and over and over again. He constantly says it so that he can normalize the idea.
Are you people actually serious? I mean, Trump is joking about running again in 2028. And then I'm absolutely sure he's joking about becoming the Israeli prime minister. Do you people know what a joke is? Or are you that blind and stupid? I mean, Alex Jones... Again, this is the guy who said that the shooting in Connecticut at Sandy Hook had child actors and child parents. And those poor parents whose kids were executed had to live with death threats for years. They already lost their child and they got to deal with that because this maniac had to say something like that. And again, this is the same Alex Jones who once said this, and I am quoting directly. I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do I have to say anything more? So it's only fitting that Alex Jones and MTG, the person who once said that they're actually Jewish space lasers that are clearing out woodland so Gavin Newsom could build his high-speed rail. Jewish space lasers. Yeah, okay. Never took this person seriously. Glad she's no longer in Congress, and now CNN and mainstream media actually treat her with respect because, again, it's because she's anti-Trump, as is the nutty Alex Jones at this point. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show. Back with so much more in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
And welcome back, everybody. So there is a real big problem on the left as far as anti-Semitism is concerned, to the point where you have candidates running for Congress in this case, for example, this woman named Maureen Galindo. She literally is calling for jail time for American Zionist internment camps. I'm not making this up. This is not AI. This is cut number 3. Go.
If you are a Zionist, meaning that you believe that you are just entitled to land, or someone's just entitled to land based off of religious beliefs, and that you'll kill all of the Semites for it, then yeah, I think that you're a danger to humanity and belong in prison.
I mean, that's just insane, right? That is really scary stuff. And then she basically doubled down on it when even Democrats called her out on it. This person can't win, you would say, but remember Jay Jones in Virginia, right? The guy who was running for Attorney General in the Commonwealth just last year, literally wished death on his opponent, 2 bullets to the head, he said, and then also wished death on his wife and 2 young children, who he called inspiring fascists, and said those children deserve to die in their mother's arms. It's all on text. It's not like, a rumor that he may have said it. And then he still won fairly easily that election, despite saying that stuff. So maybe calls to violence and anti-Semitism, Democrats are just making a calculation that this is the way we're going to get votes. Look at Graham Plattner in Maine, the guy who literally had a Nazi tattoo. He's declared that he is a communist. He applauded Hamas for killing Israeli soldiers. I could go down the list. How about Hassan Piker, who Ro Khanna, AOC, Zara Memdani, Bernie Sanders, Ilhan Omar have all gone on this guy's podcast where he has called for the assassination of President Trump and called Jews inbreds and said America deserved 9/11. All right, this is the way they want to go. Roll the dice and take your chances. But I think at some point this is not going to be acceptable. And it's not just on the left, by the way. I don't know if you could call Tucker Carlson on the right at this point, but here he is claiming, again, I hate to say this because I used to go on Tucker's show a lot, but he's just a profound liar. Remember that interview with the New York Times where literally the interviewer played to him that Tucker had said that Trump is the Antichrist, and even after hearing his own words said, those words never came out of my mouth. I don't know where you got that. You said it. And I could go through a bunch of other things, but here's Tucker Carlson claiming not to know what the term Islamic Jihad means. Really, cut number 5, go.
And when people win in a race like this, there's evidence of it. And that evidence takes very familiar forms. Enthusiasm, joy, and just sheer numbers. Like, people show up. They can't believe it. We beat the evil Thomas Massie with his jihadi backers. This is a blow against Islamic Jihad, whatever that is. Islamic Jihad.
Whatever that is.
Which, along with Hamas, is one of the big problems in the 4th District of Kentucky. They've been very, very concerned about Islamic Jihad and Hamas and Hezbollah for a long time in Covington.
Or maybe they like tax cuts that Thomas Massie voted against. Or maybe they like border security that Thomas Massie voted against. Maybe they like the Iron Dome protecting Israel, which Thomas Massie voted against. And speaking of Thomas Massie, he truly is a POS. Here he is working in some nice anti-Semitism to his concession speech after he lost this week. Cut 7, go.
I would have come out sooner, but I had to call my opponent and concede, and it took a while to find Ed Galrein in Tel Aviv.
Oh, really? What a horrible person.
I did get the call.
Well, listen to this part. This is the best.
I have called and conceded the race. We've been honorable the whole time, and we're going to stay that way.
Yeah, you've been honorable. Have fun with your new show on CNN, Thomas Massey. Anyway, some good news, and I have a feeling the markets will respond nicely. On Monday, President Trump announcing that, quote, an agreement has been largely negotiated, subject to finalization between the United States of America, the Islamic Republic of Iran, and various other countries as listed. Separately, I had a call with Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu of Israel, which likewise went very well. Those countries listed include Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan, and Bahrain. All right, so Bahrain, excuse me. So that's really incredible. You don't see France, the UK, Spain, Germany in that sentence. It's mostly Arab countries that ultimately are going to make this thing go. And if that does happen, the president says final aspects and details of the deal are currently being discussed and will be announced shortly. So either, again, this could be something where we think we have a deal and then the Iranians, do the old bait and switch, or maybe finally they can't take the pain, the damage being done to their economy anymore. And obviously not being able to get their imports and exports, mainly oil, in and out. Obviously, that is not sustainable. So with that economic pressure, you have to think that maybe finally this thing will come to an end. And as I've said over and over again, if gas prices don't come down from their current levels, you could redistrict all the districts that you want in states like Tennessee, states like Florida, Virginia, where it failed for Democrats. You could gain all those seats, 12, 14. It may not matter unless you get gas prices down. And the only way that happens is if the Iran conflict is done, Strait of Hormuz open. Otherwise, the economy is purring along quite well. And Democrats will have no answer for that because they don't run on anything except Trump bad, democracy at stake, and save Colbert. Like, that's basically the three things that Democrats talk about at this point. So we will see where this goes. Meanwhile, speaking of Colbert, I know I should let this go at this point, but I just found it amazing that so many people that call themselves media reporters were just totally in awe of the fact that Stephen got 6.7 million viewers for his final episode. And I'm like, whoa, Johnny Carson got 55. I think it was 57 million. Now that I think about it. We're talking 50 million more. And you say, well, it's a different world now, Joe. There's more streaming options. And, people are cord cutting, not to the tune of 50 million. In other words, this guy was not the iconic person speaking truth to power and America really embraced. He was speaking to a very small niche group of very far left people and journalists, especially those at CNN. And now he is no more. Because, again, if you pay somebody $15 million and they're losing $40 million because if Colbert's such a genius, why does he need 200 staffers again? I'll ask that question over and over again. But 200? It's funny, Greg Gutfeld over at Fox, who destroys Colbert on a nightly basis, actually put up a picture. It was Colbert's staff, which I counted 12, and that sounds about right. And Colbert put up a picture of his staff of more than 200 taking a final photo. Imagine that, 12 versus 200, and you're still losing by 1 million viewers. That's all you need to know about Mr. Colbert. Meanwhile, this is the type of stuff that we would hear on the show, by the way. Here's Robert De Niro talking about Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller, obviously, the deputy chief of staff to President Trump. And here De Niro, because De Niro's, like, at this point, all he does is exist to go on MS Now and CNN and yell about Trump. And that's it. It's so old already. But here he is calling Stephen Miller a Nazi, which is interesting because Stephen Miller, last check, is Jewish. So now we have Jewish Nazis, which I think is a contradiction. Cut number 20, go.
He will not. We see it all the time. He will not want to leave. He set it up with his. I guess he's the Goebbels of the cabinet. Stephen Miller. He's a Nazi. Yes, he is, and he's Jewish, and he should be ashamed of himself.
That De Niro's going to need a serious chiropractor in order. The pretzel, he just twisted himself in the goal. A Jewish guy, a Nazi. I can't. I just can't. It's that simple. Meanwhile, Colbert on his final show talked about how his show was actually a joy machine, that really we spread joy. And this was a place where we talked about unity and unifying the country. You tell me here in cut number 22, if this sounds like a guy who is joyful and is trying to unify the country. Cut 22, go.
Mr. Trump, your presidency, I love your presidency. I call it disgrace the nation. You attract more skinheads than free Rogaine. You have more people marching against you than cancer. You talk like a sign language gorilla who got hit in the head. In fact, the only thing your mouth is good for is being Vladimir Putin's holster. Republicans can eat a How about that?
Richard is what he's saying.
You know what? In fact, let's be generous. They can eat a bag of.
The modern GOP would never vote for Jesus. I mean, he was soft on Samaritans and commanded everyone to sell their possessions and give the money to the poor. The guy was clearly a socialist. He was worse than a socialist. He was a Christian.
Look, Dana, they're trying to portray Border Patrol agents and ICE agents as Gestapo, Nazi, and many other words.
Yes, do not compare ICE or Border Patrol agents to the Nazis. That's an unfair comparison. The Nazis were willing to show their faces.
That's joyful. That's some great stuff. It's going to be so missed, won't it? Again, this guy was not funny. He was angry. These aren't jokes. I think it was Norm Macdonald, the great Norm Macdonald, late great Norm Macdonald, Saturday Night Live, said that comedians get laughs and activists posing as comedians get claps. In other words, if you have an applause line, that's not funny. That means people, I guess, are agreeing with you on some sort of screed that you went on, but that's not necessarily comedy. And that's all we'll say about that. And before anybody says, all right, that Carson comparison of 57 million people tuning into Carson's final show in the 90s, mind you, we're not talking like the 60s, the 90s, cable era in general. All right, David Letterman, same network, CBS, 2014, signed off to 14 million people. Again, twice as much as Colbert. Same thing with Leno, 15 million people. So please don't. Can we stop putting him in this conversation of greatest late night host of all time? It's not even close. It's not even fair, quite frankly. Meanwhile, over on The View, which is, I guess, the female version of Colbert, which I guess is a double negative. It's kind of redundant when you think about it. Here is Sunny Hostin, and this is hilarious. She's saying that black players in the SEC, that is the Southeast Conference, arguably the best conference in the country. I'm sure Big Ten fans would like a word on that. But in the past decade, SEC teams have won championships more than anybody. Anyway, this is a major, major business now at this point for many college players from there because of NIL money and obviously huge, huge revenues coming out of the SEC and obviously the scholarships that go with schools now where Alabama used to be a pretty cheap school to go to, LSU, Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, not anymore. Even those state schools are north of $50,000 a year. So a scholarship, if you're not getting the NIL money, still gets you about $250,000 and an education, by the way. And Sunny Hostin is saying you have to give all this up, black SEC players, because you're not happy with this decision by the Supreme Court that won't allow Democrats to draw district lines for Congress based on race anymore. She really said it. Cut number 21, go.
I think that there has to be strategy. I mean, athletes have been involved in protests and politics for a long time. Yeah. Remember the Olympics, and you had John Carlos, and you had Muhammad Ali, but these were athletes that were established already. These college athletes stand to get a free education. They stand to make money because of the NIL now, and so I think it is asking a lot. But I think it's economic damage and economic harm has long time been a very effective tool in the civil rights movement.
Not one player is going to listen to this call. Not one. And boy, she has some hubris. The hubris of the defeated. When you say that, okay, players who are 18, 19, 20 years old, many of whom may have not grown up in the best environments economically, give it all up to make sure that Democrats hold on to the House. She says this while she's worth millions of dollars, has multiple homes. I mean, the audacity to say something like this. But again, you have to have some integrity to I don't know, make that sort of argument, I guess. And she has 0. That's certainly for sure. Meanwhile, this is very interesting. Here we have Gavin Newsom making the argument that President Trump is in decline both mentally and physically. Interesting, especially when you hear what I'm going to play on the other side of this. This is cut number 9. Go.
And increasingly, this president appears unhinged, unmoored by reality and facts. Seems listless. He seems, dare I say, in decline. Cognitively and, dare I say, forgive me, perhaps unfair, physically.
Okay. The guy who has outworked every president in history, by far, takes more questions than any president in history by a country mile. Nonstop work. And here's Gavin Newsom talking about, well, he's declining mentally and physically. President Trump has taken more questions from the press. We're talking thousands of more already. We're only a year and a half into the second term than Joe Biden did in all 4 years. Meanwhile, here is what a phony Newsom is and why I say over and over again, this guy is not going to get the Democratic nomination, because I think even Democrat voters are like, you need not even 1 shower, but 2 after you listen to this guy. Here's a flashback to Gavin Newsom. Just last year, after everything that happened with Biden, even after that debate, here is his argument in terms of where Biden stands, in terms of where does he rank among presidents of the last century. And this guy actually said this with a straight face. This is a campaign ad for 2028 that should be played over and over again in perpetuity because it's that laughable. Cut number 10, go.
And we'll continue to build on the legacy, I would argue, of our former president, who I think was one of the most successful presidents in the last century, and that is Joe Biden. And I will defend that till my grave in terms of the CHIPS and Science Act, the infrastructure bill, the work he did on the IRA, the fact that he had
You've got to be kidding me. All right, we'll cut it there, Elias. I get. Most successful presidents of the past century. Reagan, Kennedy, FDR, Biden. Oh, man. 9% north inflation, 20 million people entering the country illegally, an auto pen, or God knows who knows who was running this country. Obviously what happened in Afghanistan, and you're going to call him one of the most successful presidents of the past century because he passed the CHIPS Act? All right. Well, that's Gavin Newsom for you. But again, when you think about it, the top 3 candidates right now for the Democratic nomination are Kamala Harris, lost every swing state in the popular vote, California, by the way. Gavin Newsom, horrible record, horrific in California, also of, obviously, the Golden State, and AOC of New York. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show.
Mommy.
A Lego Duplo set is a gift that always clicks. And clicks. And clicks. For all the kids who love to stack and play, choose a Lego Duplo set. A gift that always clicks.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
And welcome back, everybody, from the Breakers in Spring Lake, New Jersey on this miserable Memorial Day weekend. But again, let's forget about the weather and let's think about all the men and women who sacrificed and fought for this country, gave their lives. And tomorrow, Memorial Day, when you're eating that hot dog, maybe watching a game, marching in a parade like I will, just think of the real reason why you have off that Monday. And it's not about, yay, 3-day weekend. It's about honoring all of those who sacrificed and gave the ultimate sacrifice for this country. Anyway, what can I really say except happy anniversary to Joe Biden, where we are now exactly 6 years ago today, where it's May 24th of 2020, and Biden is talking to Charlemagne the God. And obviously, at this point, you could tell, and I wrote about this in my book, even though it was 2020 and not that debate in 2024, that Biden wasn't the 2016 Biden when he was vice president. Not that he was a sharp tack then either, but saying just odd things and, old man yelling at clouds kind of thing. But here, this was the type of thing that he would say, which if a Republican said it, or if, almost anybody would have said it, then you would think, wow, there's something kind of wrong with this guy. Or that may sound, slightly or totally racist. Anyway, 6-year anniversary on Biden telling black voters this. Cut number 8, go.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump and you ain't black.
Then you ain't black. In other words, if you don't vote for the old white guy who was friends with, who was it, Byrd in West Virginia, who once said to Barack Obama, or didn't say to him, he said about him when he was running against him for president, that, oh man, this guy is clean and articulate. The guy who said once that you absolutely have to have an Indian accent to work at a 7-Eleven. I don't know. There's kind of a racist past here with Joe Biden. It's hard to get away from. But can we play that one more time? Because it's just so good. Cut number 8.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump and you ain't black.
Then you ain't black. That sums up the entire Democratic Party. They take the black vote for granted. And God forbid you vote for somebody who may lower your taxes, may make your city or community more secure, may secure the border, may do a lot of things. Anyway, that'll do it for this soggy Sunday. Remember to honor those who sacrificed for this country tomorrow on Memorial Day. Hopefully the weather will get a little bit better. We're back tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern time on WABC and on stations around the country. Until then, I got 2 words for you. Bye-bye.